Esposito, and we're going to start the session now called Break the Rules and Close More Sales. So, for a few of you who jumped on since I first mentioned that we get started in a few minutes, you're going to be on mute through this, but if you have questions, please jot them down. And at the end of the presentation, I'm going to give my email address, and you can feel free to send me questions and or comments if you have. So given that, let's go ahead and get started. I want to be cognizant of everybody's time, and I appreciate you taking the time on this Wednesday afternoon. So really, I want to give you some ideas, some different strategies, 8 of them, in fact, to follow to try and kind of break the mold a little bit. Some of it's going to be break the mold. Some of it's going to be reinforcing some of the fundamentals. But some of the things when I've worked with salespeople over the years, things that I see they kind of get caught up with that I think really limit their ability to make that difference. And as we said, it could be the slimmest of margins, and if you can just do a few extra things, could be the difference between just squeaking by and really having great success. So believe it or not, the first thing is have fun. I really believe you got to have fun, and we're going to talk through each one of these, so I don't want to spend too much time. I just want to kind of list them out, and then we'll go through each one individually. But I want you to have fun. I want you to have laser focus. Know what causes sales for you. Really get your hands around that. So need you to be, reflective on that. Embrace technology. I mean, we're using a webinar today, but you really have to embrace technology nowadays. Get involved in the community, charitable organizations, religious, business, etc. And we'll talk about that as well. Have a process, have a sales process. Break out of your comfort zone. And this is another big one that it's a soft one. It's hard to really get your arms around, but I think if you can sit back and reflect and get out of your comfort zone, I think you'll see some great differences. And then measure what matters. I know that sometimes we don't like to measure it, but that really can help us be more effective. So we'll talk through each one of these sections as we go through this. So have fun. I mean, life's about having fun. It's hard to do anything well if you're not having fun with it. And I'm sure some of you are saying right now, well, this is work. It's not fun. I get it. But I think everybody needs an office or a feeling that like you have this Heineken bottle in your water cooler and you're just having a good time. Now, I'm not advocating you to drink on the job, so let's not go there, but you get the meaning. And this is what I see that it really should stand for. Behavior, energy, expertise, and that gives you results. And have fun with it, though. I mean, there's no reason that we can't look at having fun with work. Think about what motivates you. Is it playing golf? Is it that new car? Is it going on vacation, spending time with the family, going to sporting events? I live in Kentucky, so I put the picture of the horse. Whatever it is that motivates you, think in those terms, that's why you're doing this. And then also think about the folks, and especially in the insurance industry, because you really are protecting people's livelihood, assets, and them. And that's I don't know how I don't know how you can think of it any other way, but a very valiant type of occupation where you're really trying to help people. I know the marketplace and the industry beats us down and makes it a price type of thing, but if you haven't done a good job protecting somebody and they have an issue, they could be out of business. So what you do is extremely important, and I think you have to keep that in mind. So why can't work be fun? And I know the saying, do something you love to do and you'll never work a day in your life. And I agree with that, but that's the perfect world. But can we still enjoy what we do for a living? And I think we can if we look at the perspective. Here's some reasoning. reasons. Helping others. You're going to be helping your customers, as I stated earlier. You're protecting their assets, their livelihood, in some cases helping them plan for the future, the whole gamut. And that's a very worthwhile endeavor, and you have to keep that in the back of your mind, even though it's hard. Um, Protecting the clients, achieving results. We're going to talk a little more about this about goal setting, but if when you achieve something, obviously you feel good about it. And that's how you have to kind of look at it, as being fun. It should be a little bit of a game. I'm going to achieve these things. Uh, Building relationships. You know as well as I do that you're going to build some great relationships out of your involvement going forward. And that's a great thing that you don't even know where that's going to lead today, but can be very helpful. Challenging your mind. I've recently been around some folks that just retired, and one of them in particular that joined the YMCA, where I'm on the board, was saying that they wanted to get back engaged because they felt that they weren't being challenged, and they chose that. But I think work can give us that as well. I understand that we get overwhelmed with a lot of different things, but if you weren't doing that, what would you be doing with your mind? So let's talk about laser focus. And this is a key in anything that you do in life. And Yogi Berra, the great philosopher, said, and if you don't know him, Google him. He was a famous baseball player. But if you don't know where you're going, how do you know where you're going to end? Or you may end up someplace else. And Yogi is was had a unique way of looking at things. And I think that's a key that we have to keep in mind, that we have to set some kind of goals and plans. Things don't just happen, without any kind of planning. They do, but then you're not having any input into the process. All right. So proven theory, goals without a plan are just wishes, and everybody wishes for more success, but how do you get there? And that's up to you. I'm not going to, this isn't about individually giving you ideas on goal setting, but I'm saying that you have to incorporate this if you want to break the rules to be successful. And I know that sounds funny because everybody says they have goals, but once again, my experience tells me that the goals are more of talking points, not true written down a plan to get from point A to point B. And you can choose to set the goals or not. That's up to you, and I can't change that. But I think you know that you have a much greater chance of success if you can set the goals and make them realistic. I'm not big on setting these unbelievable goals. You can start there, but then break it down to some realistic goals. This is how you'll reach your potential. Time management is a key, and there's a million webinars or information out there on that. So, and you've probably grabbed a lot of them, but I just want to touch on a couple things real quick with it. Be on goal time, not clock time. Too many times we're looking at the clock and we're thinking, oh, it's about 8:30 or 9. I need to get coffee, or lunchtime. Work on what your goal the goal you set was. Use that as your guide, not looking at the clock. Um, do a little bit all the time, not a lot some of the time. This is back, the old, I'm going to cram for that final. Well, if you do a little bit all the time, then you'll be much more prepared and you won't panic, because panic can make you make mistakes and make you miss opportunities. Once again, it's up to you to manage your time. And I really believe in balance, and we're going to talk more about that as we go forward, but you can't just make it all work. I know we want to be successful, but you got to balance in there. But I think planning times or opportunities with family and friends is equally important. So set up, I want to do 2 or 3 events with friends, or I want to go to X amount of ball games, or whatever the case might be for your circumstance, but plan it in. It's much easier if you plan it in than try to do it as you go, because there's a ton of distractions out there, as we all know. And try and stay away from the urgent, unimportant type of things. And if any of you have read Stephen Covey's book, The 7 Effective or Highly Effective Habits of Successful People, he talks about urgent, unimportant. And that's, once again, for you to be reflective and look at what are the things that you're doing. Are they really helping you hit your goals? And that's where you go back to having goals set that you can work towards. Okay. All right. So the third thing that I want you to reflect on as a strategy to break the rules is really get your hands around what your company, what you do and your company does that causes sales. Let me give you a couple examples here, right? What's your uncommon offering? Everybody knows Chick-fil-A, and everybody knows when you go to Chick-fil-A, what are you going to hear? My pleasure, right? Because they've taken service and they've taken it to a new level in that fast food industry that, quite frankly, had gotten the reputation as being low service. I don't know about you all, but here where I live, at lunchtime, you can see the Chick-fil-A, and it doesn't matter if it's raining outside like it is today, they're going to have people outside helping facilitate the drive-through because they get such a rush at lunchtime, but they're going to have people out there in the rain help take orders. But they take that extra step, and that's what we know them for. That's their uncommon offering. How about Amazon? Amazon is, you want it tomorrow, you can get it. You can go online, you order what you want, and it's going to be there. And they have everything for you to choose from. And they're looking to, they're always looking to increase that availability to get things to us quicker. And then there's Apple. And obviously, I bet you some of the folks on the phone today have the new Apple 10 because it just came out. And they've done a wonderful job of not selling computers or phones, but selling the promise of innovation and making your life easier. And that's where they focus. So what is it that is your uncommon offering? And think about that after we get off the phone today, and try and put it into those terms that you can talk with people about it. And I think you've heard the term 30-second commercial. Some people refer to it as elevator pitch, but be prepared to tell people what you do or your uncommon offering. Don't do it in features and benefits, right? That's going to be like everybody else. We're the largest this. We're the biggest in this market. We have the best insurance markets to go to. Blah, blah, blah. Everybody says that. Break it down to what you do. Tell how you help people. What have you done specifically, or your agency has done specifically to help people? And are there certain people or characteristics about people that you really do well with? Well, focus on that, trying to find them, because you can make a bigger difference. The reason, and when you're talking to people or calling, the reason you called, be specific. Hey, I wanted to take 30 minutes, tell you why I called. I'm sorry, 30 seconds, tell you why I called. You tell me if it makes sense for us to keep talking, type of thing. Don't try and act like it's not a cold call. Or if you can, personalize. If you read something about the company, hey, I noticed you did this change. I had a client here in Louisville that I saw that had gotten a new building. So I started off with that. Hey, I saw you got a new building. That's usually a really good time to look at where your assets are covered because of the changes. Maybe I can come in and give you a free look at that. And I got an opportunity, and we ended up doing some business with them. But you have to work on your kind of 30-second commercial that you have, that when you're out talking with people, you're very comfortable in giving them that information and not as a feature and benefit statement. So what type of business are you good or that you've helped with? What are some of the pains you've solved? They should be things that you include in, and then or gain. What is the ROI your company has delivered? And obviously you got to tell them honestly, I'm not sure if it'll work for you. We'd have to sit down and do some discussion, but I'd love that opportunity. Don't go over the top with, yeah, we definitely can help you and we're going to save you money, because you don't know. Their circumstance could be different. All right. So today, in today's world, technology, is all over the place and it's growing and changing all the time. I'm sorry, let me get the other ones out here. These are all different tools that, 10 years ago we didn't use. Um, and now we're using them on a regular basis. So, and we're going to talk a little bit more, but LinkedIn, I'm not sure if you're using LinkedIn as a strategy, but that's a great opportunity to incorporate that in, or any type of the social media, Facebook, Twitter, um, any of those types of opportunities are good to get your name out there and help you connect. And think about now of the new world and how people buy things. You know, um, the new buyer, they go to the internet, they check you out before you go in. So why aren't you checking them out? And why aren't you trying to see, maybe you go on LinkedIn, if they'll connect with you prior to a meeting, you may see they're connected to people you know. And that could give you some talking points as you go forward. Now, I get it that sometimes you're hooked up with people on LinkedIn you don't know. I get it. But what's that going to take? A little time on your part. As I said, the buyers nowadays are doing their homework on you. So they've probably looked you up already and they're checking you out to see if they know anybody that you know. You have that same opportunity. Let's use it. This is part of that balance I was talking about. And I think this really helps you kind of change. Get involved with community involvement, volunteer. And I know you're saying, you don't know my world. I've got so much going on. I can't do that. I get it. I was there too. And I found though that when I got involved and then going back to setting a plan, it's enriched my opportunities, made me a much better attitude towards work because of the people that I saw when I've gotten involved and volunteered, and what they've done. It inspires me, and then it helps me have a better attitude when I'm working in my business. And here's some, quotes from famous people, that are saying, like Winston Churchill, we make a living by what we get, but we make a life by what we give. And I think that's really important to keep in mind. One act of kindness can change the world. The best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others. I think we overlook the impact that getting involved can help. Now, the secondary thing here, right, is when you get on these organizations, business, community, you're going to meet people and there may be an opportunity there to do business with them. I wouldn't go in thinking that's what you're going to get out of it. I would go in, and I mean this, I would go in more to be present and help and get the good feeling and what you get from that. And I'm going to tell you, experience tells me you will end up, really getting to know folks and picking up some business. But that shouldn't be the focus. If you go in with that focus, you're not gonna first get out of the volunteering experience what you should, because you'll be disappointed if you don't find anybody to do business with, number one. And number two, you're going to be seen as fake. And that's not going to help you going forward. So I really think if you're not doing this, and I know a lot of you are probably very involved, I would urge you to do it, and it would really expand and balance your life. Action conquers fear. I know it's scary to think, hey, I'm going to go and I'm going to volunteer and I'm going to meet some people that I might not be comfortable being around. I'm telling you, the action will conquer that fear if you do it. And this experience can change you, but more importantly, it can change someone else. And I think you keep that in mind. That will help you kind of change your perspective once again for your work-life balance overall. All right, so we're going to get involved. And then you got to have a process. Now, this is just a random image off the internet of a process. Once again, I'm not going to dictate to you what process you should use. You're going to have to take some sweat in that and think about, or some skin in that, and think about what's a good process for you. In the insurance world, it's very important to, I think, identify your goals, what you want to achieve, and not so much from a revenue standpoint. I know you're going to have that with your company, but more the behaviors it's going to take to get there. And then move into identifying types of people you want to work with or opportunities, and then qualifying them real hard before you go out and spend a lot of time trying to win the business. Because if you don't qualify them up front real hard and see if they're even willing to change, you're going to spend a lot of time. And that should be all part of your process. You should know, did I really identify them as a possible opportunity? Did I qualify them hard? Did I find out, would they be willing to move away from their current relationship if I gave them a good opportunity? And then was there something that really stood out, and gaps that I found, if you pursue it? And then when you win the business, obviously to coach him on that, yes, because in the insurance industry, there's a lot of opportunities that get lost at the 11th hour because the other broker comes in, or their incumbent broker, I should say. So come with a 30, 60, or 90-day workout plan for your process, and keep tweaking it, if it's not working. But think about it in shorter terms. We talked about goal setting up front, and that's more on a long-term year type of view. Then break it down into smaller chunks. It's easier managed, and it helps you stay focused on achieving it. So once again, I'm just going to hit some points on some of the things that I've used over the time for plans. So behavior plan, hit list of key accounts. Do you have territory plan? What's your daily behavior? Do you have any marketing help from your agency? If not, what are you doing, to try and drive that? How many dials or visits or proposals do you need to be successful? Have a pipeline. Event marketing. Are you doing any lunch and learns or any type of educational type of things? Networking. Once again, what business associations are you involved in? Do you have a social media strategy? And there is just a ton of information on different social media strategies and programs like that you can grab to look at. But you should have some type of behavior plan that you can do on a regular basis to get you where you want to go. What are you doing to increase your skills? Like, you're sitting on here today. Hopefully you're going to learn something that you're going to take and then work on, because, after we're done, you probably aren't going to retain everything we talked about. So you want to, write down those couple things that stand out and then do some more research on them. Practice sales. Have a friend that you can do some role play for you. If you're having trouble getting indoors, get a couple friends that you can say, hey, let's role play. I'm going to call you out of the blue and try and get an appointment with you, and tell me, after what you think. Set the stage with your folks when you meet with them. When you get that appointment, set the stage. Look, I'm going to ask you questions. You're going to ask me. At the end of this meeting, I want us to decide what the next steps are. Look for pain. What are the issues? But don't correct them. Let them tell you really about the pain. You don't correct them until you've decided this is someone you're really going to try and work with and help. Questioning. I think this is a lost art for salespeople. We want to talk at people as opposed to asking them questions. And I think if you can try to get a mindset that I'm going to ask questions, it will help you get more information, which is really your goal. Success story. Talk about things you've done for other folks. And once again, I'm sure in your different agencies, you have a plethora of examples of things that you've done to help people. Make it conversational. Don't, once again, it's not a talk at or a presentation like I'm doing. It's more of a conversation. Role play with friends, and then debrief after your meeting. And if you go with someone else, that's a must. You have to debrief and talk about what your perspective of the meeting was and what theirs was, and use that information to help you. Obviously, networking and referrals is a much better way than cold calling. I get it, but I don't know, as far as all the folks that are on today, where you're at in your career. Hopefully you've got some established books and you've got the opportunity network, but if you don't, then you got to really spend the time on developing that. But if you do, then, here's some ideas, and you probably are already in this, but, joining the chambers, BNI tips, form a lead group of your own. If you have a specific kind of market you're looking for, try and find some, accessory businesses that they work with, the people you want to get to, and form a leads group. Work on your networking skills. That 30-second commercial we talked about later, if you have that down, that's how you can talk to people about what you do. Ask them first what they do, and see if you can help them. Maybe you can do a webinar series or educational type thing to give people some insights, or team up with a center of influence. Maybe you have someone on social media you work with. Maybe you could do some social media webinars to give some of your clients or people some pointers. Surveys to see what they're looking for. There's all kinds of things, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, to use as well, but you have to have some kind of plan, right, to do these things. And then work on your personal brand, the desire, the commitment, your outlook, your energy, your professional presence. That's another key. You want to go into any interactions you have, especially if it's, a first meeting with a prospect, and you don't want to go in from a position of begging for their business. You want to go in from a position of a peer, that you're going to talk with them and you're going to advise them on what's going on, if it makes sense. You're not, you've got abundant, and you've got business, whether you do or not. You have to take that attitude in, because it changes your perspective and it changes the way they look at you. That's the successful already, and it helps with the confidence. Be a lifelong learner. Being on today and continuing to hone your craft will only help you going forward. And once again, I know we get bogged down with distractions. That's why we have to have a pretty strong plan in place to make sure we can accomplish what we want to accomplish. Okay. This is another key, getting out of your comfort zone. And there's a lot of talk about this. And, as humans, I think we ultimately strive for comfort. We want to make things better and easier for us. However, you tell me one innovation that has ever been found by someone being comfortable. It's usually because they've been uncomfortable. That's why they were able to come up with that innovation. And I think you have to look at it that way, that, you have to reflect and say, sometimes I could be missing a lot of opportunities because I'm just doing, staying in my comfort zone and not trying to get out. So let's talk about that journey to success. Belief, courage, impact, passion, industry knowledge, and prospecting. I think these are the keys, and you have to look at it different. Belief, I enjoy my sales career. I can choose business despite, I can close business despite challenges. You're committed to the client, and it's about solving business problems. Courage, call it higher levels. Limit your need for approval. If you get into sales because you want approval, you're going to have a real tough road to go. Um, you want to nurture, but be assertive, not needy, willingness to walk away if it's just not a good situation. If you're just going to be a price gauge, maybe you don't want to talk to them. And if you believe that price is the main thing, then that's what it's going to be. If you believe it's secondary, that'll be what you'll get out of it as well. Impact, demonstrate consistent performance. You keep a good attitude. You exhibit bias to action and demonstrate a sense of urgency. You always have to have that sense of urgency. Passion, it is contagious. If you show passion, people are going to see that, and you're going to gain their trust just on the passion. Once again, knowledge, industry knowledge, research your competition, your prospects, know your products, and understand that you're really there to find the pains. Prospecting, we kind of have talked about, but it's a daily discipline. Use the tools, the technology, and give time to it. Referrals from clients, we'll talk about that in a little bit more as far as accountability later on, or measuring what matters. So how can we change? And I don't know if any of you have heard the theory of constraints. It's kind of based on the Pareto principle, the 80-20 rule. You've probably heard that before. But it's the management philosophy of continuous improvement. So here's a suggestion for trying to get out of your comfort zone. Is look at what's holding you back. If we look at your circumstance and we say, okay, 100%, and we give the competition or marketplace 20% of the issues are going to be there, and we could argue all day that it could be higher or lower. But if you look at these three, competency, skill, and belief make up the other 80%. Where do you think you need to focus a little more time on? Is it your belief that you can really help people? Is it the skill set that you have? Or is it the competency of industry knowledge that is holding you back? What is it that's holding you back? Is that why you're not making that other call to the higher level? Because you're afraid you're going to get asked a question you can't answer. You have to, do some self-reflecting and decide what that is. And here's kind of 4 steps, quick, summarized, easy way to try and to change. So identify what that roadblock is, study it, define what it, the definition of it, and then come up with an action plan. It's not rocket science, but it is discipline to do this and try and work to get out of your comfort zone. And I think too many times, once again, we keep doing the same thing over and over and expect a different result. And I think a guy named Einstein said that's the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over again and hoping that the result's different. Henry Ford said, if you think you can or you think you can't, you'll always be right. So our mind is a powerful thing, and it causes us to have a certain outlook. And this is just a little demonstration or a little visual on how this kind of works. If your beliefs are such and that you make judgments and then actions, it affects your outlook. It's kind of a continuous circle, and you can change your outlook or your beliefs, judgments, and actions, and that will change the circle. Just as Henry Ford said, if you believe you can, that's much better than if you believe you think you can't. You've already beat yourself or made it that much harder to win. Once again, I would ask you to reflect on this afterwards and see if you can do some things differently to help you change that outlook. Comfort zone is one of those hard things to get your hands around, but I think it affects us more than we can ever imagine. So measure what matters. And I know that you probably have some internal type of measurements that you're gauged to, and my guess is most of those are based on results, which I get because business is about scorecard. But if you can turn that into behaviors and see accountability as not a four-letter word, but as a way to help you become professional. I've worked with a lot of salespeople over the years and continue to now. And the ones that generally shy away from accountability, they don't last long. The ones that do, they become professional and embrace it. Make it work to your advantage. It helps you keep focused. Think about an accountability trap. So an accountability trap, maybe you have a good friend, or and I don't know everyone's situation if you have people at work, but you have good friends that you can say, look, I want to meet with you once a week, and I want you to ask me how many calls I've made or how many visits I made. Whatever it is that you want to achieve, put yourself out there and force yourself into this trap. I It will make you successful if you embrace accountability and not beat yourself up over it, but work towards achieving it. This is just a sample of a spreadsheet that I've used with some clients in the past. And you would generate how many prospecting calls you want to make in a week, how many touch current clients, networking events, social media, how many different things you're going to post or what you're going to do in a week, thorough product research, or that could be industry knowledge. And then once again, I think you have to include personal in there, exercise, body, mind, and that might even include some of the family things we talked about earlier. But you set this up and you decide what are the key behaviors that you need to do based on those monetary goals you have. And then, like I said, incorporate the personal side as well, so you're moving in the same direction and not pulling against each other. So real quick, I'd like to take a few minutes here. I'm going to give you all like 10 minutes here to write down these questions. And this would be a 1 to 5. 1 meaning you're not doing very well at this. 5 meaning you're killing it. But write down these 8 questions. Am I having fun? How is my focus? I can articulate my competitive advantage. I utilize technology in my sales process. Am I expanding my reach or involvement, community involvement, sales process? Am I comfortable? I am achieving my required company and financial goals. Write those down, and we don't have to do it right now, but after the webinar, you can go back and you can sit and give yourself a 1 to 5 score. And obviously, if you got 40, you're killing it. If you're 30 to 40, you're doing okay, but maybe then focus on the things that you really could help get you to that next level. And if you're 20 to 30, you really got to look at some things and see what can I do differently. But I would encourage you, and if if you need to change a couple of these, that's fine too. But I think it's really key that we do some self-awareness checks from time to time to see if we're hitting the mark. Okay, and you can dictate what those questions are if you don't like these. But I would ask you to write these down, and as I said, a little bit later you can do that. So I went through it fairly quick. I want to say thank you. Wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving. Here's my email at the bottom. It's vae.evg@gmail.com. And if you have questions about what we went through, or you have any comments, please give those to me as well. And Insured Solutions records all these, so if you have, you want to go back and listen to it, you can get the recording from them. So I appreciate everyone being on. I thank you so much. I wish you the best in selling. And I really think that the difference between doing well and doing great is a lot slimmer than we know. And if we can just look at it that way and do a few extra things, I think you all have great success. And I wish nothing but that for you. So best of luck. Once again, happy Thanksgiving. Take care.